Hi, I'm Tyson Franklin, and welcome to this week's episode of the Podiatry Legends Podcast. The podcast designed to help you feel, see, and think differently about the podiatry profession. You are in for a treat this week. I went through some old recordings from my previous podcast, This No Secret with Dr. T, and I dug out one of my favourite recordings that I did with a person by the name of Chase Hughes. Now, he had a very distinguished 20-year career in the US military, and in 2019 he retired, and I just so happened to be introduced to him in 2019, not long after his retirement, and he was sort of kicking off his business. And after a 20-year career in the military, he started developing and teaching courses in interrogation, negotiation, influence, persuasion, and extreme people reading around the world. It was absolutely amazing to be able to talk to him, and I thought I needed to share this recording, so I've re-edited it slightly, and I wanted to release it on the Podiatry Legends podcast. And I tell you right now, every podiatrist that listens to this is going to be so beneficial with working with your patients. So make sure you listen and you take notes. So this recording is going to open up with my introduction of Chase Hughes. So sit back and relax and enjoy, and I'll talk to you again at the end of this interview. With me today is Chase Hughes. Now, Chase is a leading behaviour expert and creates psychological research and techniques for intelligence agencies for operations ranging from interrogation to behaviour profiling. He recently became what Entrepreneur magazine called the secret weapon for businesses around the country. His best-selling book, The Ellipsis Manual, has revolutionized the way we look at persuasion and influence. So Chase, welcome to the show today. How are you doing?
I'm good, Dr. T. Thanks for having me on.
The word around town is you are pretty cool to, one, go along to one of your workshops when they're on, but just in general, just this whole thing about interrogation and behavioral profiling, because I think over the last, say, 10 or 15 years, there's been so many TV shows that have been based around this that you probably sit back and go, what a load of rubbish. Or is some of it actually spot on?
Some of it's pretty accurate, believe it or not. And I think there's one show that's probably universal for all your listeners called Lie to Me. And it features this guy who runs his private firm of behavior profilers. And the science in that show is probably the best I've seen. And the only thing I would say aside from that is that most people who are an expert in human behavior wouldn't act like a dick, like the guy does in the show just the whole time.
Because there's two shows that come to mind straight away. One is the Mentalist.
Right.
And there was another show, and the guy did act like a dick, called Psych. And he was the same thing where he just...
It's a fake psych. I think it's a great show. It's hilarious. And it's got some really cool observational tricks in the episodes too.
So how did you get into all this? How did you get started? I know your background, you were in the Navy. Did you have an interest in this before you joined the Navy, or did this come about while you were in the Navy?
Yes, I did 20 years in the Navy and just retired in this past January.
If I can tell you that you don't look old enough.
Well, thanks. I'm moisturized. That might be.
You moisturize, okay.
But I think the major interest came when I was in the Navy. I was stationed out in Pearl Harbor, and I was probably 19. And I was just downtown one evening, and I asked some girl to basically come home with me. And she said no. And I was just devastated. So I went back to my little bachelor pad, and I typed into Google how to tell when girls like you. It's the exact phrase I remember typing in.
Yeah.
And I printed out like a 3-foot stack of papers. And I remember just becoming obsessed with being able to read people and just understand human behavior, because I think I had social anxiety at the time. And the more I could kind of see behind somebody's social mask, because every human being on earth wears some sort of a social mask. And I think being able to see behind that made people more human and more approachable to me. And that's kind of what made it really addictive.
Okay, so the question on everyone's mind is, were you able to pick up women better after that?
Yes. No, that's just that's a byproduct.
Okay, so it all started pretty much from that Google search sparked your interest in human behavior.
Yes, absolutely.
It is great to see that your initial motives were, it just reminds me of a Get Smart episode. You could use your skills for
Yeah, it does.
good or evil, but initially it was evil, but then you turned it into good.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't want to like learn pickup per se.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to tell, like, I don't want to ask a girl in the future, like, if she'll come home with me or go on a date with me if she's going to reject me. So I want to know beforehand so I can avoid rejections. That was the reason I wanted to learn body language. And then I became obsessed with it and went to college for all that stuff and then wrote a book. It hit the bestseller list. It was a #1 bestseller for like 2 years.
And that's the Ellipsis manual?
Yes. Over the years, I've read all these books on persuasion and body language, and it was never enough because eventually I wanted something extreme. I wanted something that was all the big, juicy, hardcore data, and it didn't exist. And then I wound up doing some work in interrogation stuff, and I found out that not even the government had it. So I wound up putting all that stuff together and designing that specifically for that application, for intelligence applications.
Okay, if we go back one step when you were saying about we're all wearing a mask, though, what is it that you're looking for? Like when you said, I'll go back to the young girls that you were talking with initially, but it applies to everybody. What is it you're seeing that the mask that people are putting on? What is it that I may be doing? I might be doing it now while I'm talking to you. Is there something that everybody tends to do or something you look for?
So the mask would typically look like something that I refer to as human needs. There's actually 31 things that kind of make up a human mask, but the needs is one of the big ones. And when we see like what that person needs in a situation, which is a need to be seen as intelligent or a need to feel like they're powerful, they're in control of the situation, or a need to let everybody else know that they're significant or they make a difference, or to announce that they're a part of a group and they're accepted as a part of a group. So those are kind of masks that we wear. And the mask basically is just what we want to portray and the way that we pretend that we're not insecure, because 100% of human beings are insecure, 100%. And granted, every once in a while, I'll have somebody in a course to say, "Oh no, not me." I've never really experienced that.
I always say to someone, when somebody ever says, "I don't care what other people think," to me is the first sign that they care what other people think. Because if they didn't care what other people think, they wouldn't actually be thinking that. Does that make sense?
Or saying it.
Or saying it, yeah. Because if you didn't care what people thought about you, then why are you even saying it? Because it shouldn't even be crossing your mind.
Yeah.
So I always say to people, if I ever say that to you, I'm lying.
Yeah. So I think the best description I could give you for a mask would be the way that we pretend like we're not insecure is what the mask is. And the stuff behind the mask is typically, it sounds bad at the beginning, but just describing it sounds kind of bad. But this would be fears, personal weaknesses, insecurities, and maybe some things that went on in their past. And that's what created what we're seeing today. And we use those, if I'm a therapist or a salesman or a business negotiator, I use the system that I developed to get a really good look behind that mask, of course, without judging anybody. The moment you start judging another person, you've lost the deal. You've lost the ability to influence. And I'm a big believer in just leave everybody better than you found them. So, and when we talk about masks, the big thing is, like, if you see a sales situation or a negotiation, it's usually me as a sales guy working for Billy Bob's car dealership. I'm selling you something and I'm using some technique I learned in a manual.
Yeah.
I make the mistake of selling to your mask instead of selling to you, the human.
Okay, that makes sense.
We talk to that mask and we interact with that mask.
Is that what you're saying, that we judge people? Is that what you're saying, that we actually judge people?
Yeah, there's some judgment there, but we're judging the wrong part. I mean, we're making snap judgments on what that person is portraying instead of who they actually are. And that's what a lot of my courses teach you, how to see past that. And we have a very specific set of techniques that I developed over 20 years to get back there. And I think that if you go to the top sales guy in every company on earth, if you took every sales guy from the Fortune 500 here in the U.S., the top guys, we have a group of 500 guys, and we do a very sharp analysis on who those people are. None of them are going to be the top because they read the books. None of them are going to be at the top because they went to a bunch of sales trainings or sales seminars. 100%. We would all unanimously agree that this top sales guy, if you pit a guy with all the training, all the books, all the sales tactics against a guy with extremely high social skills, he can read anybody and he can talk to anybody because he knows exactly how to speak to individual people.
Yeah.
That guy always wins. Everyone universally agrees on that. But then what our sales training consists of is what we all universally agree is not the deciding factor of what makes us the best. So
and
that's when I wanted to train.
When you mentioned interrogation,
I wanted to develop a program where our intelligence officer could take the program.
It's more about
go overseas, and they have a hard job. They've got
a mutual friend, Dave Freeze,
national to
give up it's awful to do
secrets
too. Like have it done,
potentially face the death penalty. And sometimes you only get a couple hours. No, that shit doesn't work at all. It is.
You've had it done on yourself?
I've tried it. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I heard it's not fun at all.
But you know what? In most situations where we talk about torture, it can produce truthful information. Absolutely. The problem happens when they spit everything out and the interrogator keeps on going and they continue to spit out information. And we have, let's say we're in a foreign country in the Middle East.
Yeah.
This guy's spitting out information about an IED roadside bomb that's going to go off. And I have 6 hours to do it. And I've got 12 people to run down every single piece of intelligence to figure out which one's true and which one's not. And just this massive amount of information, aside from just being horrible to the person. And I personally believe that any interrogator should never conduct an interrogation where the person doesn't say thank you at the end. I don't care who they are.
Yeah, it's a big difference though between interrogation and torture.
Massive
difference. Yeah, that's why I could never be a spy, because if they just pulled my hair, I'd be going, "What do you want to know?"
Yeah.
I'd just be going, "Come on!" They just threatened to pull off a toenail, and if they did one, I'd be going, "Give me a pen and paper. I'll just direct you where to go because I want to keep the other 9 toenails." Yeah. I don't know how they do that. Anyway, we should get back on track.
No worries.
Okay, so you're looking at people. You're saying most people have got a mask. And I did hear you say something too about people wearing colours or being part of groups. Is that a mask that some people carry? Like becoming part of like a gang or a club. I suppose a gang and a club are two completely different things as well. But there are other masks that, whether it's a sporting club or whether it's a biker club.
If you walked around the JFK airport here, you would see all the people with that type of mask very quickly. They're wearing a T-shirt that says they belong to an organization. It's a man over the age of 25 who still wears a college ring. It's the person who's got a Windows computer from work, but they put an Apple sticker on it. So they let everybody else know, this is my work computer. I'm still part of the Apple clan. And with the motorcycle gangs, they all dress to very, very strictly conform to something that they pretend not to. Like, I'm not conforming to this, but we all wear the exact same thing. We have to look the same because that's an acceptance need. They need to feel like they're accepted, they're part of a group, and they want other people to know that they're part of that group.
But that's the same as like greenies and vegans. Not just an extreme.
And CrossFit.
And CrossFit people. Yeah, like they always say, you can tell when someone's how do you know if someone's a vegan? Because they'll tell you. Oh, hi, my name's John. Oh, and by the way, I'm a vegan. And you go, we weren't even talking about food, John, but thanks for mentioning it. But it's like some people that are hippies. I'm not going to conform to society. We are all individuals. So they have dreadlocks and tie-dyed pants. And I go, you all look the same. So they say they're individuals, but they actually are conforming to a particular group or a particular look.
Yeah, they're conforming to their people.
Is it because we have a need that we need to feel like we belong to something?
Yeah, that would get you killed. Like if we go back to when our brains were developing 1,000,000 years ago, or even 500,000 years ago, our average group of people was 70 to 130 people. And it was kind of a little tribe, a social tribe, because we're social animals. And if we didn't fit in, and if we didn't conform to the tribe, we were kind of an outlier. At best, we stood a chance of being outcast. At worst, we stood a chance of getting killed because we didn't really fit into the unit. And both of those things mean that we don't have sex. And that means that our genes disappear from the face of the earth.
Which is a good thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, all of our ancestors were high in social conformity, and that's the reason that we're here.
Is that the problem now, though, that we let certain people breed and we shouldn't?
I don't know. I hope not. I certainly hope not.
Well, did you see that movie Year One with Jack Black?
No, I haven't.
And it's very similar to what you just said there. Small tribe, and you know who Jack Black is, the actor, so you can picture the sort of character he was. And him and one of the other guys are in this tribe, but they're as useful as pockets on underpants. They're just... doesn't matter what they do. They can't hunt. They can't gather. They've got no skills whatsoever, and the tribe just goes, just get out. They end up throwing them out because everything they do harms the tribe in some way. So they pretty much push them aside because they're of no asset to the tribe.
Wow, check it out. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's a dumb movie. I wouldn't put. It's never going to win an Oscar.
I just wrote down the movie. I'm going to go see it.
So people, we conform to a certain look so we can fit in with society. One, this is how we keep our gene pool going. And is it also so we're not being judged by other people? The more we can fit in, the less we stand out. But we also want to be significant and stand out at the same time.
Yeah, well, some people have more of one than the other. As far as Chase Hughes is concerned, I teach we have 3 primary and 3 secondary masks that we kind of wear. And the 3 primary are significance, approval, and acceptance. So the approval is I kind of need permission. Significance is I make a difference, and the acceptance is I belong to. So people that are high on significance are typically not acceptance driven, but they're still high conformity type of people. So you'll see like higher income brackets, people who make in the US like over 300 a year are high on conformity.
Yeah.
They dress similarly. They live in houses that all kind of look the same. They all shop at IKEA and get the same crap to put in the middle of their dinner table. Everything kind of is very similar.
Is that even as far as like driving a certain car because you need to be seen that you have a certain car that indicates that you have a certain status and you can afford that car?
Yes. So that wouldn't go to acceptance. That would typically go to significance, to broadcast that significance to other people.
How can we learn to see people better? So like the average person in the street, like myself and other people I know, how can we, like you said, see people better and see through some of these masks? Are there certain tips that we can practice or improve upon?
Sure. I'll give you the psychological aspect from the viewer's point of view. And then I'll give you a few tips to actually read people. The best advice I've ever come across in 20 years was to start viewing a person from the point of suffering. And understand that the person you're viewing, no matter how confident or well put together they look, is suffering. It's a universal human condition. And that should be the starting point from everything.
Yeah.
And over time, I've kind of slopped people into 4 different categories, and the 4th being the highest and the most able to read other people. And that is level 1. So let's take a situation that would piss everybody off equally. Like you're driving down the highway, some guy in a big pickup truck pulls up beside you, cuts you off, flips you off out over through the back window,
Gives
and
you
then kind of
flips the
breaks.
bird. Yes, flips the bird at you.
Yeah, and little maybe hits on his brakes a little bit to piss you off.
Oh, that shits you, doesn't it? That's annoying when they do that.
Yeah. So I mean, we have four types of people and how they would respond to each one of those things. So a level 1 type of person at the bottom would automatically get angry. They would react, and they would make an attempt to get back on top of the situation. So level 1, and each one of these has one word associated with it. So level 1, 2, 3, and 4 view people as, and then a word. So this person is a cause. I'm acting this way because somebody else did that.
Okay.
So a level 2 person, same thing happens. Guy cuts him off, flips the bird, brake checks him a little bit. They have a similar emotional response, but they view people as different. So he knows, everybody's a little bit different. Probably nothing I can do about it. Still gets the emotional response, still gets pissed off about it, maybe fantasizes about him crashing into a telephone pole or a median or something like that.
Yeah.
But doesn't really take action to get himself back on top or herself. So they view people as different. The level 3, we get up towards the higher end, the people that have a tremendous amount of influence, they can read people. They view people as facts. So that same situation happens, and they view that person as an unchanging fact. Because level 1 and 2 ask the question, why?
Yeah.
They have a secret desire that guy in the truck was different. So they ask the question, why the hell is he doing this? Why the hell is this guy cutting me off in traffic? The level 3 person views him as an unchangeable fact. Like other guys would ask, why is this guy acting like such a douchebag? And the level 3 person would say, that's what he's supposed to do. He's a douchebag. That's what they're supposed to do. And that's a fact. Like, because anytime we get angry, there's a secret desire to change something. Because we don't get angry at a hurricane or a tornado or an earthquake or weather, because we know we can't change it. We get angry when we think we might have an attempt, we might be able to change it, or we wish something was different.
Or we could have changed the situation or circumstance that happened. We feel we could have either prevented or changed the outcome.
Yes. Okay. So anger is a secret desire to change something something that we know is changeable.
Okay, that's actually making sense so far. I'm feeling like we're on the same wavelength here. This is good. I'm trying to figure out what I'd do with the guy who cut me off, though. But keep going. I want to hear the last one.
A lot of the times it depends on the day you had.
Oh, it depends if you've been drinking too.
That
was a joke. That was just a joke. Yeah, I just.
The level 4 person views people as reasons. So we have causes, different, facts, and reasons. So the level 4, this person is just a reason. So instead of just saying, "Oh, he's a douchebag, he's a fact," it's not gonna ruin my day. No big deal.
Yeah.
The level 4 person automatically sees that this person is exhibiting a tremendous need for power over others. And we see this person that is a reason for something. And we see him pull in front of us, flip us off, and automatically we know that this person tremendously lacks feeling powerful in their life. And it's not because they're powerful that they do that. It's because they feel powerless. And if you think about the smallest dogs, the ones that are the most fearful are the ones that bark the most. And especially in that situation, if you get to that point where you're able to know that all of that entire situation that happened in front of your eyes was because of tremendous fear. And then say, well, sometime, and this is actually going on in your back of your head, and when you're reading people, this is what makes you a better people reader, even if you have to fake it for a little bit.
Yeah.
And even if I make up a story in my head, I know that earlier in this man's life, he might have been 9 or 11 years old, and some bully punched him in the face in front of a girl that he really liked, or he got picked on at school, or his dad was just a piece of crap and beat the hell out of him, or his mom abandoned him, and he sat somewhere and made an unconscious vow that no one would ever hurt him again. And the best way to do that was to be powerful and strong and show it to everybody. And it worked, growing up as he was a little child. That is how he stayed safe. And that's the way that his behavior is begging other people on his knees, metaphorically begging, please show me that I'm powerful. Please don't mess with me. Please don't hurt me. So that would be the level 4.
So, but as individuals ourselves, as we mature, we would react differently to that situation as well. Because I know, like when I was, say, in my early 20s, if somebody had cut me off like that, my first reaction would be, I want to drag them off out of their car and flog them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas now, something like that happens and I don't even bat an eyelid. I really don't even, I just go, oh, well, something obviously happened back further that I'm totally unaware of. And now that he feels better about himself, I'll just keep driving. I actually do not have a reaction anymore.
Yeah.
I thought I was just getting old.
No, I mean, I've had people in my class as young as 16 years old who are at that level. So I don't know if it's maturity or not. And I won't claim to be an expert in that field, but
could it be over the years you've seen it that many times that you also become numb to that particular situation? That, like this happens, people cut you off, they flip you, they put the brakes on in front. And over the last 30 years, you've seen it that many times, there's no point getting angry about it. Something else has happened that sparked this, whether you were at fault or not. The guy's eventually going to drive off. He's going to feel great. And in 10 minutes' time, you're going to totally forget about it.
Yeah.
So experience as well.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of things that make people that way. But if you're trying to read somebody, or you're going into a negotiation or a big sale, the closer you can get to that mindset, the better you're going to do for influence from a psych perspective.
But you were saying,
so it helps
even
me to relate,
using this driver as an example,
it brings
you don't know
more
what's gone on in their past
connectedness into the situation
to make them the way that
I may learn the
so
true
when you're
story
meeting
later,
someone for the first time,
but at the very beginning,
you talk about, they may have a mask, they may not. Well, everybody has some form of mask.
Imagine,
but you don't know
this person
what
has a really
has gone on
strong
in their life
significance
to lead up to that point.
And there's probably something back then when they were little that created this.
Yeah, we had there's a guy in Australia, John Bunting, who's like one of Australia's biggest serial killers. Had the big story over here was the bodies in the barrel. It was in South Australia. This is where he was storing all the bodies. Anyway, so he was in my class at school, and
wow,
yeah, which and I remember him at school, and he used to, we jokingly say he used to threaten to kill me all the time. I used to say he didn't have it in him, but obviously I was wrong. But when you read about his story and what happened to him as a child, here's this kid. There's all this crap going on at home, beaten up, molested, and then he's walking into school, and not one of us were ever spotting that there was a problem at home. We were just thinking he was just a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
So what you see is not always what you're getting.
Mostly not. Yeah.
So can you meet somebody and within a short period of time pick whether somebody is evil?
Very quickly. Yeah.
Oh, you can.
And well, I mean, there's a long process of the behavioral profiling to establish that, but a quick way to do it. And we train women how to spot narcissists and manipulators on the first date. And there's like 29 indicators we teach them to look for, but one of the biggest ones is if I'm telling the story that is making me really excited, I should see that reflect on the other person's face. If I say something that's sad, um, a family member was just diagnosed with an illness, or something sad's going on in my
Yeah.
life, I should see that facial expression reflected on the person I'm speaking to. And if I don't see
Oh,
any of that throughout a whole conversation, so if I'm saying something sad, I should see a little flash of sadness on that person's face.
oh, that is a great tip.
Thank you.
That is really cool. So, because you said there's 29 things. I know you can't go over all 29, but is that one of the clear indicators, or could that sometimes be the person who's just not listening at the time?
That could be. That's why we teach them to look for an accumulation of things. And like one of the other ones is that we ask them, "What's the biggest lesson you've learned in your life?" And typically, narcissists will respond with, "Well, not really much," and they won't really have any lessons. They'll blame all of the failures of past relationship on the other person. Or what's the biggest personal growth that you achieved, or the biggest lesson you learned about yourself in that relationship? And it'll be a chance for them to brag.
Okay.
And then when you ask a manipulator, what are you most grateful for? They'll tend to give you something that lets them brag. So you're secretly giving them an opportunity to say, A, something they're genuinely thankful for if they're a normal person, or B, they take that opportunity to say, well, I'm really grateful I had the opportunity to go to Harvard. It was a really good school.
Yeah. Okay. So they want you to know that you didn't ask what school you went to, but they need to
Right.
let you know that they did law at Harvard.
Right. So instead of conversing, they would do what's called image management with you, especially in one of the first conversations.
Okay, that is very helpful. Wanted to make sure I don't do that myself,
Yes,
but
that's just the tip of the iceberg.
oh, geez, don't get any deeper with me. There's a lot down there you don't want to see. But do people do this do they use people that they know also to build themselves up? Because I remember when I was at university, so I've got to throw that in there now. Not at Harvard though, and but I went to a state school, which wasn't the greatest state school. When I got to university, you would meet certain people who went to, say, private schools. They would introduce you to their friend, and they go, "Oh, this is my friend John. He went to Church of England Grammar School, and he was the captain of the swimming team, and captain of the rugby." And I go, "Oh, okay, that's great. Hi, John, how you doing?" So they'd introduce the friend, but they would build their friend up as they were introducing him to. Is that normal?
Yeah,
Is that normal?
I'd say it's pretty normal for people that age, especially if you're doing that over the age of like 25. I'd say it's a little more unusual.
Right, okay. Because my brother and I used to joke around about it all the time. So, and this all seemed to happen within the private school sort of circles. So my brother would
Very
introduce me, and he'd go, "Oh, this is my brother Tyson. He's 6 foot tall and a pretty good dancer." And that's how he would introduce me to them if they did the same intro, because we had nothing else to go with. That was all we had, and I was a pretty poor dancer too, so we were really lying.
That's
So
fantastic. I love it.
so what's your feeling on? There's so many people that are out there that are saying that they teach people how to read other people,
Oh man.
but I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's so many of them now that there's courses, there's workshops that, hey, I can teach you to do this and that. But when you read their background, they don't seem to actually have any training in that area. Does that annoy you?
It does. And there's people that'll read 3 or 4 books on the internet, and then all of a sudden their LinkedIn profile says they're an expert in human behavior. Uh, and I got sick of that after 20 years of studying this stuff and using American tax dollars to do all of this research. I got really sick of calling in an expert, writing them a check, asking them to demonstrate a skill, and they can't do it. So I think there's a lot of people out there that mean well.
Yeah.
I don't think they feel like they're lying when they say that they're an expert, but I think that the information is, from what I've seen, it's just something you could get on a Google search. And I wanted stuff that was legitimately cutting edge. And I mean, that's why show me another instructor. I've got a 200% money back guarantee on my courses. So
That is a damn good guarantee.
yeah. And I trust people's integrity, but if it's not if you don't think it's the best course on the planet in behavior reading, then I'll give you double the money.
Well, a mutual friend, Dave Freeze, brought you in to talk to like his exclusive VIP group. All of them were just saying that it was an amazing day.
Well, I'm glad they liked it.
Yeah,
that's
pretty much.
Great
I think as a group they may have all gone off and got Chase Hughes tattoos, but that's a different story altogether. I don't know what happened, what you did afterwards, but they were saying.
Well, my followers.
Yeah,
my followers are required to get barcode on their on the back of the neck. Not a big deal. It's part of the seminar.
And so they should. So back to your seminars.
Yeah.
But I assume you're doing them all over the place. So if people go to your website, chasehughes.com, all the details will be on there.
We're doing it everywhere. And, we teach a lot of law firms how to do jury selection and cross-examination. And now, like, these skills that I developed to do overseas interrogations, I never really thought that I would just apply it elsewhere. But it's turning out to be like the secret weapon for businesses now. And just this is like we talked about that at the very beginning, that those skills win over most of the other skills. The human skills win everything. Even if you're in what's the least human job? Computer programming or something like finance and accounting, where like we say like, oh, I don't need that stuff.
Yeah.
The people who get promoted in those fields are typically the people who have the human element.
Well, the example you gave at the beginning of like Billy Bob's Car Yard, where you were the car salesman.
Yeah.
Quite interesting that you chose Billy Bob as the name of the car yard.
I was just thinking, I was surprised you remembered that.
Hey, I paid attention. I listened. But especially, say, in podiatry and the health industry, when you really need to listen to the person that's in front of you, because what they tell you could make or break the treatment that you put in place. So these sort of skills are extremely important in all aspects of life, but I think the health industry especially, because
that's really true. Yeah. I had a couple of surgeons. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you were done there.
I sort of paused. I left an opening. Dive in.
Okay. Well, I did have a bunch of doctors came to a course in London, and one of them was an American cardiothoracic surgeon. And he showed me this report that a patient who just likes their doctor, reduces malpractice lawsuits by like 88%.
I have no doubt.
And because if they don't really know their doctor very well and their doctor screws up, they're like, oh, I'm suing his ass.
Oh, big time.
But if they like him, they're like, oh, Tyson just made a mistake. It's not a big deal. People make mistakes.
Yeah, and I know his wife and daughter, do I really want to take their house and put them out in the street?
Right.
It's that emotional connection.
Yeah, it really is.
I always find this stuff really, really interesting.
I have too. I'm still obsessed with it, and the novelty's never worn off for me.
So I was going to say that because would you class yourself as an expert in this area?
Yes.
Okay, so you're an expert, which I think this is great. You're an expert, but you are still studying this area to get better at what you do.
Every day, yes.
So other people who are learning this, it's not something that you read one book, learn it once, and think, now I know everything. I don't have to keep improving. It's something you should, if you want to get better at it, you should keep improving. Yeah,
so true. And it's got to be real world interactions. You've got to take a lot of this stuff and apply it in conversations. It's like if I read 300 books on swimming techniques, eventually I've got to get into the freaking pool. I've got to start doing it. So like there's one thing I teach is like how to monitor blink rate in a conversation, which is how often a person blinks. It sounds insignificant.
No, but now you're saying it, I'm counting how many times you blink. But
right.
Now we're both staring at each other really weirdly, but that's fine.
You know, the more often a person blinks, the more stressed out they are. And if you're doing a good job as a doctor, as a salesman, as an attorney, as a person trying to get a date with somebody, if you're generating focus and interest, the blink rate will drastically slow down. So much so, the average blink rate is 21 per minute. And the last time you watched a really cool movie that you enjoyed, your blink rate was probably around a 6 or a 7 without realizing it. And that's what makes it reliable, because we don't monitor that. And
Okay.
the last time you did something stressful, like when I took my math exams in high school, I was probably around a 70 per minute.
That is an interesting observation.
Yeah, and you don't need to count. It's just you start a conversation. Is it fast, medium, or slow? And my job is to kind of slow it down over conversation. And if you're doing that, that means you are becoming more interesting. The person's getting more focused or relaxed. And if all of a sudden you're on a date or you're talking to a patient and you see blink rate start going up, you're not holding their attention, or you're causing some stress.
That's a fantastic tip.
That's just the beginning. But let's say like you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden let's use the dating thing.
Yeah.
Or let's go to a podiatrist standpoint. You're talking to a patient, and the moment that you say surgery, you see the blink rate start going up. And you can backtrack and say, it looks like you have some concerns about surgery. I just want to make sure I answer any possible questions that you have. Nothing is too stupid or silly. I would love to know exactly what you're thinking about. It seems like you're a little bit worried. So you know exactly where the pain points are, and you know exactly when to, if you need to, just change the subject to regain that focus.
And this is all part of, in your 3-day course that you do, this is part of...
Yeah, this is like the first 10 minutes.
Oh, right, okay. So I must admit, like, I was at the doctor's just recently. You may notice this stitches I've got in my neck here.
I saw that.
Yeah, so I'm sure my blink rate went up when the doctor said, oh, yeah, we'll just remove that lump from your throat. And I said, where are we going to do that? Oh, we'll just do it in the surgery here, not a problem. Okay. I would guarantee my blink rate was up at the time. I wanted to actually, he wouldn't let me do it. I said, can I get your nurse to film this while you're doing it? He said, he wouldn't let me do it. He went, no.
You wouldn't do it?
He said, no, I don't want to be on one of your crazy videos on Facebook. I said, it'll be fun. This will go viral. I want to see this thing come out. And no, he wouldn't do it. Suppose he's too...
Did he at least put it in a jar for you?
Yeah, no, he put it in a jar, but then they sent it off to a pathology lab to check it out. But I'm confident I'll be here next year.
I got a friend of mine who had a bullet taken out of his neck.
Oh, as for all of our friends, yeah. We have so many friends who have bullets taken out of their neck. Yeah, there's a story there. Keep going.
Well, I mean, it's such a common thing.
Yeah.
But this was in Afghanistan, and they pulled this bullet out of his neck, and luckily it hit his helmet first, so it was going real slow when it hit him. But they put it in a little jar, and he made like a little necklace out of it, so he wears it around his neck.
I would too.
I thought you should do that with the lump they took out.
I'd like put it in a little glass tube, and like Billy Bob Thornton and
Angelina Jolie.
And didn't they have little vials of each other's blood that they used to carry around on a chain?
Yeah. So strange.
Would it be even stranger if I keep this little lump and I put it in a little glass vial and start wearing that around my neck and say, Chase Hughes said I should do this?
You just say, hey,
it's a conversation piece. Okay, Chase, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as what I have.
This is one of the most fun podcasts I've ever been on. Thanks, man.
So if people want to reach out to you, just go to chasehughes.com. That's the easiest way to find out everything about you, the courses you're doing all around the world. So, Chase, thank you very much for coming on.
Thanks, Dr. T. Take care.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to this recording today. And I must admit, when I went back and listened to this again and did the re-edit, it just blew me away with the information that Chase shared. And it just got me really inspired about digging in and learning more about this particular area, with not just how you can use this information with your patients in a positive way, not in a negative way, of course, but just people that you're dealing with in life, day to day, family, friends, acquaintances, business people that you have to actually deal with. I think these skills are so important to learn. So I recommend going back and listening to this a second time, third time, fourth time, because like I said, I've listened to it a few times now and it blows me away every single time. And I've also got one of Chase's other books, which we didn't mention on the actual podcast itself, and it's called The 6-Minute X-Ray, Rapid Behaviour Profiling. And this is a brilliant book as well. If you want to go and check it out, I will have a link in the show notes. So before I wrap up, just want to remind everybody, if you're enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving a rating review on your favorite podcast platform. It's probably in your hand right now. And if you want to send me an email, tell me what you think, please just send me an email, tyson@podiatrylegends.com. And also don't forget to go over to my coaching page, tysonfranklin.com, and check out the events. Have a look at what I've got coming up this year. Okay, that's it for me this week. I want you to look after yourself, look after your family, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye for now.